We live in a time where it's cool to be evil. And if you are speaking the truth, then you are considered lethal. Dang. Please do not let them deceive you. The Most High is coming back soon with vengeance and wrath for the evil. I do not care if they kill me. You see, 'cause my soul is immortal. The money and gold not important. The Most High restoring the order. I pray for your sons and your daughter. Real.
Okay, so I know some stuff that I want to get into about the second Exodus, but is there anything that you wanted to talk about first?
Not necessarily. Let me see where you're starting, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm looking at Ezekiel 37, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take some notes as we... I'm just going to kind of do a summary between 37 through 39 to make a point, and then we'll go from there.
Cool.
Okay, so the dry bones is Israel, the reawakening. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to come back to our Father and our King, right? King Yeshua. And then it talks about the actual second Exodus itself, right?
Yep.
Okay, so starting in 21 here. So let's continue. And then here, as it states, Gog and the allies, really the allies of Magog, I guess. Gog is the prince, I believe. But Gog, Magog, and the allies are going to attack Israel. So they're going to attack Israel in the land of Israel, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so... Okay, what else we got? Alright. Oh, judgment, right?
Judgment on God. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 39, God's armies are destroyed. Okay, and then I think it takes like 6 months or something.
Right.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There's so much carnage that takes a very long time.
Right.
Yep.
But then there's a festival, right? Because, I mean, you know how we do. Of course, we're going to have a cookout after. Like,
of course.
Now, notice this. After the festival, Israel's restored to the land, but
wow.
I thought that already happened, right?
Right.
So if this is happening to begin with, and then it's happening again after this huge battle.
Interesting.
In my opinion, it's telling us right here very plainly that the second Exodus is going to happen in portions.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So at least 2, but
absolutely.
Maybe more than that, right?
Maybe more.
Yeah. And so then it kind of gets to what we were talking about before. How long could this be going on?
Yeah.
So before, I'm going to look at a portion in the Epistle of Barnabas, but before that, I'm going to pull up the Hebrew calendar. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so the beginning of the year 2020 for the Gentiles converts to 5780 for Edom.
Yep.
So, before we begin, I'm not sure that we can fully trust this.
Trust it, yeah. Same.
But I'm just gonna have to assume, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that we're somewhere near this.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we are somewhere near basically 5,700 or 5,800 years, okay. Mm-hmm. Now let's take a look at the Epistle of Barnabas.
Let's see.
So let's see. We'll start at Barnabas 15. Moreover, concerning the Sabbath, likewise it is written in the 10 words in which he spake to Moses face to face on Mount Sinai, and ye shall hallow the Sabbath of the Most High with pure hands and with a pure heart. Mm-hmm. And in another place he saith, if my sons observe the Sabbath, then I will bestow my mercy upon them. Mm-hmm. Of the Sabbath he speaketh in the beginning of the creation, and Elohim made the works of his hands in 6 days. And he ended on the 7th day and rested on it, and he hallowed it. Give heed, children, what this meaneth. Mm-hmm. He ended in 6 days. He meaneth this, that in 6,000 years the Most High shall bring all things to an end, for the day with him signifieth 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. And this he signifieth, and this he himself beareth me witness, saying, behold, the day of the Most High shall be 1,000 years. Therefore, children, in 6 days, that is in 6,000 years, everything shall come to an end. So here, Barnabas reveals that the world is only made to be 6,000 years old, right? And then he gives the analogy of the 7 days, and the 7 days that the world was made, right? Yep. But the 7th day was rest. So that the 1,000 years where Yeshua reigns represents the Sabbath. So,
indeed,
if we go back to this and we have to assume maybe it's somewhere around here, then we have at the most 220 years or something like that. So
that's interesting.
Yes. And then if you think about this number could be off. Yeah. Then between a 6,000 year period, an amount of 200 years is a very small amount of time. So when, sometimes I see some of Israel talking about, oh, Yeshua is coming back soon.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true. I don't know. But it's just interesting to note that at the most 220 years, that would mean that all these portions of the second Exodus will likely happen soon.
Yes. And over some time before we get to the next phase. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. When you were speaking, it reminded me of Enoch as well, and I don't know how to share what I'm seeing here. I'm sorry, but it reminded me of Enoch as well in chapter 92 when it's breaking down 10 weeks. I think we spoke about that before.
Yes. But I don't remember what was in chapter 92.
Yeah. Skipping ahead, I think it's, let me see, chapter 92, where during the 7th week, the righteous are selected from the everlasting plant of righteousness, and to them shall be given the sevenfold doctrine of his whole creation. So, that's very interesting to me, just as far as how everything is broken down in these specific time periods, in these 1,000 years becoming a day, and how, there you go. Perfect. Thanks for being quick on that, having that up.
It was the Most High, because I just kind of was like...
Well, you were the one who shared this with me at first, so I'm glad that you could, because I've been in it.
I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah. So, but to me, these things line up. It's really difficult to get an understanding with respect to how the calendar, how time has been manipulated throughout the times of the Gentiles, obviously. I think what's going to help us discern the times, though, is wisdom. That's something that, it's just something that most people in this day of drunkenness will not have. So in looking at where we are as far as, us being that time clock, Israel, 400-year prophecy and what's going on, I think that really helps us reestablish what time it is, as opposed to, whatever everyone else is saying. But as far as the Exodus being broken up, I completely agree. And as a matter of fact, last night I was taking a look at, I use Blue Letter Bible all the time, and I like to search for certain key phrases or terms or just words to see how they're used, just to compare them and get more context on them. And the idea of a righteous branch springing out of David, we know that, that's true, but we know that Messiah is the root of Jesse, but we know that there's also a branch of Jesse representing the kingship that was promised to David. And so there is a branch that springs forth that seems to lead at a time when perhaps the second Exodus is beginning. I'm not entirely sure, but this could kind of speak to the idea of there being, someone or a group of people who go first, and who bring the others along. So anyway.
Yeah. So kind of leading the Exodus.
Correct. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm trying to figure out. I don't know. I was thinking about, well, the next logical question is, who's going to go first and who's going to do this and that. But I don't really want to.
I know. It's a lot.
I don't want anybody to, there's different ways to look at that. But I will say this: Zion, consistently comes up. Zion consistently comes up through Scripture, and is especially prominent, with the Most High, that relationship. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Zion goes first back into the land.
Agree.
Also, Zion is clearly Jews. It would also make sense that that Judah would be coming back first to the land, which I guess means the same thing when you say that Zion's coming back first. But when you look at Judah, Judah has been waking up, especially, during this time.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It makes so much sense, given that so much attention is on this place. It is on America, the daughter of Babylon, where so much of Judah happens to be. There's always been so much attention focused this way, and given the fact that we have so much access to information, and so much visibility, just personally, it makes sense to me, lining up with Scripture, that Zion would be here. I'm also thinking of, when you were speaking, and I don't know if it's something you want to pull up, I'm thinking about Genesis 49, 8 through, I'd say 8 through 12. But the first portion of that, is saying. It's of course the blessings given to the 12 sons of Israel, and the one to Judah specifically. Judah, thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. So to me, and especially given a lot of the Psalms speaking similarly, that, Judah, synonymously Zion, is that kingship, is that headship, under, of course, our Messiah, that more than likely will lead or go first before the rest of the brethren.
It does seem to be a signature of Judah and Zion. There seems to be a signature of redemption and vindication specifically of Zion. So there's definitely a distinction there. Definitely,
and a uniqueness in what has happened to Judah specifically. I see us as being just entirely and thoroughly yoked to the Messiah. So, and I know that we've discussed this before, and we can go into more detail about it, but just his sufferings mirror our sufferings. The hanging on a tree, the being whipped, the being beaten, the being despised. All of these things mirror Judah's struggle in particular, because we are of the same tribe. And it's also highly visible,
Yeah.
Correlation, sis. Yeah, well, thank you. All praises to the Most High. Anywho, but yeah, wisdom kind of it thoroughly sort of illustrates who the people are when you compare the sufferings. I'm sure you heard maybe I think it was a month or two ago, the Chick-fil-A founder, he was talking about what was called the white blessing, and he made a comparison to Christ and how Christ's suffering and passing was a blessing to the world. And he compared American slaves, what people would consider African slaves who just aren't really in the know, but he compared that struggle, our fall, their blessing. And that was so interesting just to hear, and especially right now, it's so timely that he would make that comparison, which to me says that the Spirit is moving. It's putting all these pieces together for people who can't really discern who the people of God are. So to me, that's a very obvious thing that Judah would be ahead of the pack on that.
Yes, and that goes with at one point Yeshua was speaking to the brethren. He's speaking to the Jews, telling them, when the world hates you, remember it hated me first.
That's right. And also that the world would not recognize, or what did he say, that it wouldn't know you because it didn't know me. Something. Yeah, I'm messing it up. I always, but you know where I'm at.
Yeah. That related back to what he was saying about his sheep. His sheep would, would know his voice.
Right. Indeed.
Okay, so but with the 400 years, man, we're already at 1:30. Okay, with the 400 years, who was that? That was Pastor Dana
Coverstone. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when he said about the 2021 Passover.
Yeah.
Like what?
Mm-hmm.
So Pastor Dana Coverstone, he especially intrigues me because
Yeah.
All his dreams that he has been talking about completely match what we are expecting.
Absolutely.
But he doesn't know why he doesn't know why the judgment is coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
he's got these dreams, and he's, you know, he doesn't have the context, I guess, around it.
Right.
So it's just very interesting that him as a Gentile Christian pastor is also coming into this the same conclusion.
That's right. That's right. That is so interesting. It harkens back to was it Joseph and also Daniel interpreting dreams, and having that answer, having that interpretation. And even though those of other nations are having those dreams, they may not understand the full context of them. But then here are, Yah's prophets rising once again, and we're able to tell specifically and know, that, this is what's happening. This is why you're having these dreams. So it's really just, there's nothing new under the sun. And it's not just Pastor Dana Coverstone. It's, many Gentiles who are having dreams of a similar nature right now. Sometimes I'm shocked at some of the similarities I'm hearing within these dreams with respect to gargoyles. I had an interesting dream last night too. I'll talk to you about it later. But it was really okay. So anyway, but gargoyles. Chinese soldiers. Lots of different common themes, and a lot of it you can't just sort of chalk up to paranoia or whatever the case may be. You have people who were particularly optimistic and who love this country, and I love the way that you put it when you say their hearts are married to this country, who can actually foresee things that are not so good. So that tells me something about where we are. The fact that they're even seeing this come to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. After all that.
Well, as you said, Chick-fil-A,
yes.
the way that you put it, that they said it was very poetic, because it's very true that the suffering of Israel, around the world, has been to the benefit to the rest of the world. And so there is a huge shift that's happening in which our discipline is ending, and their discipline is going to start to begin, if not already.
Right.
But there's been talk about the plagues coming too. So that's going to be interesting. We'll see. The hurricanes are. Did you see that one where there's two
massive? Yeah.
So then they're concerned, like, oh man, there's two that might hit at the same time. I was talking about, well, can they combine into like a super hurricane? Like, is that it's not like a comic. We have super hurricanes coming. We have fire tornadoes. Poor California is getting burned up.
Tore up.
Right?
Yeah.
Australia 2.0. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But
we're seeing. Like, how much more plain can he make it? So I ask you, I want to ask you, like, with respect to the 400 years, like, I know our community, the Israelite community, has been divided on it. There are many who didn't see it coming to pass. They thought it was date setting, etc. But there are several of us who could see it coming, and who did believe that 400-year prophecy applied to us. And like, putting some of the math and the figuring aside, which we know that the time in the initial Egypt does not line up with the 400-year prophecy, but what was it about it? Like, I know that you believed it. What was it about it that made you believe it before all of this stuff started happening this past year?
So you're saying, what was it about this time period and the 400 years?
Yeah, like, what made you believe that prophecy applied to right now, to our captivity in America? Because I know many did not. So why did you think that it applied to America even before, this year started really popping off with everything?
Okay, so kind of early on in my path, okay, and I came out of the Eurocentric church. Okay, so my understanding was that I hadn't really thought about it before this, but at the time, when I was under the teaching of the Eurocentric church, I just kind of assumed that 400 years was talking about the time that they spent in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was either Teo or Dante. I heard them talk about it initially, and it really interested me because I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then I had to think, well, why am I assuming that this time period is associated to this specific Hebrew enslavement? So that's when I started looking into that. Then I ended up doing like all this math, trying to calculate.
That sounds like you.
Trying to calculate, okay, so could they have even been in Egypt for 400 years, right?
Yeah.
If they can't, then it automatically is nullified.
Sure.
So I just kept coming into all these different issues. There's one in Exodus. Let's see. Okay, so Exodus 12:40. It says, "Now the sojourn of the children of Israel who lived in Egypt was 430 years."
Mm-hmm.
Well, initially I went with that, but then I still couldn't get to a potential 400 years of affliction. So then if you hit this footnote, now it says the sojourn of the children of Israel who lived in Egypt and Canaan was 430 years.
There you go.
So then, so then like I went down this crazy path, of detective work.
Yeah.
And eventually I came to Jasher, and in Jasher 81 it just tells you, oh, they were in Egypt for like 210 years or something like that. And so I was like, man, if they hadn't removed that book, I wouldn't have had to do all this extra work. But.
Right. I remember the day I saw that too. I was like, wait, it is plain. Like, people have been doing videos and they're doing the math and adding up, and Joseph was this age, and then there it is in Jasper just laid out. Like, anyway, so doing the work for us.
I know. So then after that, I was like, okay, well, Egypt's nullified. The only other potentials was the Assyrian captivity, the Babylonian captivity, and neither one of those fit, right? So at that point, at the time, I was like, well, based off of this hypothesis, I was considering it a hypothesis back then.
Sure.
If black people, the diaspora, are Jews, then we do have a period in which these people who are beginning to claim that they are Jews have been in affliction for 400 years in a nation that is not theirs, like in a land that is not theirs. So I was like, this is a lot of coincidence.
Right. At some point, it's not just a coincidence.
Exactly. But then I also worked backwards because I started looking into those in the land of Israel now, and I was trying to see if they had ever been in a 400-year affliction, and I couldn't find anything that would be like remotely close to that. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's how I came to it.
Yeah.
And then 2020 happened, and I was like, oh.
And there it is.
So things are definitely adding up. But,
definitely adding up.
Yeah. All right. I'm running out of time. But
really?
Yeah, because you said 1 to 1:30, and then we're supposed to be somewhere too today.
Oh.
I know. But we can do. What's up?
Oh, I was just saying between those times we could get started. I didn't mean,
Oh.
It's just we're just getting started, man. We're ironing out the kinks.
Yes. Okay. Well, next time I will make a bigger window, and that way we can get into some tangents, basically.
Get on into it.
Yeah. Because the tangents are always interesting.
Tangents are good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's, hey, I know my tangents are good.
They are. It always leads to enlightenment. So.
Thank you, sir. Yours too. You don't really do that though, because anyway.
Well, it's tempting to me, but I just try to stay on topic. But
yeah,
it's hard not to.
It is. There's so much. There's so many pieces to pull together.
Yeah.
That's why it's so difficult to explain to people who don't, who haven't really studied. There's so many. I end up going back, to the beginning. Okay, well, so it can be a lot to try to pull together. But we'll stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try my best.
Okay, next time it'll be longer. We'll see. I don't know what we're gonna talk about yet, but I'm sure
there's so much.
Just
whatever, because we started off with the second Exodus, and we kind of trailed off into the 400 years, which is the significant piece of it, and so maybe we can do a part 2 on that and what we expect to see, maybe.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once I figure that out, I'll let you know, because I don't know yet.
I feel like you already know, but it'll hit you, be like, then you'll get into it.
I think about, how, just what Christ did when he warned, hey, when you see, Jerusalem compassed with armies, go. And that was a whole 40 years after he said that, but you just had to believe and hold on to it, not really even understanding what he was talking about, but believing that he knew what he was talking about. And so when that time came, you knew because you had remembered, you had the recall, and you had the spirit because you believed. So really, so much of this is just a matter of us studying and talking to one another about it and fellowshipping about it. And when we see it, though, we'll recognize it. We may not be able to put all the pieces together ahead of time, but that's what the faith portion of it is going to be about. It is about, holding on to it and knowing it's true, regardless whether we understand it right at this moment or not.
Right.
So
that's a good point too.
Yeah.
Because Yeshua himself warned, right? He warned the Jews in Jerusalem, destruction is coming. And he cried for them, like literally.
Right.
And that is another signature. Like, before the Hebrews came out of Egypt, they got the warning, right? That you guys are gonna come out. In fact, Joseph told them, look, you guys are gonna come out of Egypt. Make sure you take my bones with you, right? So the prophecy was there even before he passed away. But then Moses came back and told them. Same thing with Babylon. Daniel writes that he realized, we're only supposed to be here for 70 years.
Yes.
He was reading Jeremiah. So all that to say, that was a really good point that you made, where the Most High will warn his children when something is about to happen.
That's right.
That's probably this time now.
Absolutely.
You're about to come out, so get ready.
Get ready, and just heed my word, and just believe in it. Study it. Study me and my ways. And then when it comes, you'll be fully prepared. And I feel like we are prepared as best we can be, because he will lead.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to jump ahead of him. I have my ideas, but he'll piece it together, So That's where we're at.
Okay, I gotta go.
Okay, hon.
All right.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy your day. All praises, and thanks for calling me. We'll do it again.
Yes, soon.
Okay. You guys be safe.
All right. Peace.
All right. Bye.